I don't know what happened.
You broke
We
it.
are live.
I broke the internet. Well, we're live. Hey, you missed out on our one. Not miss out because it managed to delay itself for an extended period of time. Welcome
broke
to
the voice.
the Marketing Happy Hour, the place where you can go to watch technological flubs from time to time, as well as learn about marketing, motivation, and putting forth your best effort to keep momentum going. So today we're talking about a couple of things. We're talking about how to overcome inertia. We've got 5 topics for you, but we have 3 people who are talking. I'm Dr. Christopher Vogelmann. With me, as always, is
John
John
Paduchak.
of Videos Are Social. Is that right?
Sure. Or
Or
the RV channel. Or
JohnPaduchak.com. RV John.
we could
You
I
name
could do anything. I'm here.
He's everything.
I've
And
arrived.
speaking of somebody who's everything, it's the famous doctor down below, the implementation coach himself.
Hello,
Dr.
hello,
Kayvon.
hello. Coach K, implementation coach, helping entrepreneurs implement their plans from
Implement-
Simplify.zone.
Yes, and remember, you're never alone with Simplify.zone.
There you go.
Hey, speaking of simplifying things, I had a couple of things that we're going to take a look at today. We're going to look at these.
Uh-huh.
These 5 topics. Your why, and I'm not talking about the why that's followed by MCA. Breaking down stuff into tiny, simple tasks using what I call neuro alarms or timers. The carrot versus stick approach. We know which person here in this broadcast prefers carrots to sticks, and then distractions. So as we get started here, I'm going to actually go backwards in time. Kind of strange that I'm going to do that. That's our look for today, which is the hashtag to get stuff done. Some of you may put a different S word in there, but that's a whole other story. So, gentlemen, let's get started
Alrighty.
with your why.
Well, I have a question.
Yeah.
I don't understand the use of inertia in this concept, in this context.
People
Could you
getting
explain
stuck.
that? Because other people may be like me. What do they mean by inertia?
People getting stuck. They're not moving. An object at rest tends to stay at rest unless put into motion. A human being with their marketing plan who just sits there tends to stay at rest without actually implementing that marketing plan.
Got it.
Especially if they get stuck in it.
That's what we are. Yeah, you got to get unstuck to make your own luck. So, which of you likes the big why?
I like the big
Your
one.
powerful why / motivation. Well,
I would say so. Yeah.
Well, since we're talking about inertia and procrastination and that sort of thing,
yeah,
motivation is one of the issues, one of the ways that people describe things to get them. One of the ways people that justify or we justify procrastination, that I don't have motivation, or if I do those things, I will feel better, so the motivation will come. It's also similar to being in the zone, like I do it when I feel like it. When the feeling comes, when I have the energy, the momentum, the motivation, then I'll get it done. These are all reasons to put it for later. So either I like to do this task instead of the actual task because it's motivating, makes me feel better, or postponing the task for future because I don't have the right motivation. I'm not in the zone yet.
But do you have an eventual goal or an overwhelming reason for implementing a marketing plan or a new business strategy?
Yeah.
What is it?
That is a good question.
This is going to be one of those things where you answer a question with a question. What do you mean by that? So,
yeah. Well, here's the thing. We're talking about marketing happy hour.
Yeah,
and
marketing.
This not only applies to marketing, but it's a kind of a fact of life in my point of view. There are many things that we can do, but not all of them are the right things for us or related to the goal that we have. So knowing why are we doing what we're doing can be not only a great tool to keep us on track, but also prevent us from getting all of these things that they present themselves to us as the best new latest thing kind of a time. So why could be a like a protector as well. I am doing this. Let's say the marketing from all of different goals is now we pick up a project that let's build a list. let's do lead generation, let's increase our sales, whatever the goal is, then tools, tactics, strategies, and all of that based on that why should make sense or not. So that's my relationship with the why. Does that make sense or answer your question?
It's a little more complex than I would expect from a simplifier. But
John,
what would you?
Well, I think I understand what Kayvon's trying to say. So if I were to paraphrase this, you would say that obviously you do have something that's kind of an overwhelming why, a reason that you do what you do for your family, for your children, for whatever it might be. But at the same time, the easiest way to get to that point is to simplify things down or distill it down to staying on focus and picking a particular thing to work on rather than attacking many things. Like we all like to believe that we're great multitaskers, but none of us are great at that. We're terrible multitaskers.
Which brings us to here.
Big thing, right? Hey,
breaking things down into tiny tasks. I like to call them bite-sized pieces. One of my friends, Jason Zook, calls it chonking. Instead of chunking it down, he calls it chonking. And chunk to reduce overwhelm. And then the example, Kayvon's given this example, and several others have about, you decide I'm going to go to the gym, but I'm only going to do it for 3 minutes.
Right.
Only 3 minutes. And Kayvon, as you well know, once they get you into CrossFit, you're never allowed out.
Well, it's a cult. They get you in.
You can't roll a tire in 3 minutes. You know what I'm saying?
You can't roll a tire. You can't change a tire. If they would teach you how to change a tire in 3 minutes in CrossFit, now that'd be something.
That would work. Yeah.
You know how? You know how do you find out that if people do CrossFit?
They tell you.
They tell you.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's what you say. Somebody went to Harvard. They tell you. So
that I know.
you know that very well.
So many painful memories.
So many painful memories. So, but that's the whole thing about, I think we talked about perfectionism. We talked about procrastination. And I think to a certain extent, my personal opinion is that procrastination comes from the sense of you're overwhelmed with things, but the overwhelm comes from perfectionism because you don't want to put out something that is less than what people might expect of you.
Yes.
And I mean, that's just, one of the
main
things.
Reason.
Yeah. So what about tiny tasks? So are most people really good, Kayvon, at breaking stuff down into tiny tasks? So they look at it and say, oh, this weekend I have to make a marketing plan.
Yeah. Or write a book.
Or write a book this weekend.
Well, at least they're concentrating on one thing.
That's what you did, right? Kayvon, you wrote a book in a weekend, didn't you?
Yeah. Why not? Sure. There are, if this is you, dear listener or viewer, don't feel bad. But there are people that on their today's to-do list, they have write book.
Write book.
Right.
And John mentioned the multitasking earlier.
Yeah.
We go back and forth between tasks and we think we are doing them both at the same time, but we are actually not multitasking. It's called task switching.
Right.
And there's a synaptic delay too when you're doing that.
Yeah, there's a synaptic delay. But here's the thing: for us to get into the groove or in the zone, they say it takes somewhere between 14 to 16 minutes or so. Let's say 15 minutes. So if I am going to, this is going to be related to the last thing, which was distractions. If I'm going to allow myself to be distracted by other projects, other tasks, or even notification and this and that, we never get to the zone. Because here's the thing: if it's going to take me 15 minutes to get into the zone, and on average, I think we are getting a notification every 4 or 5 minutes right now, it's you're always distracted with something else, and you restart that 15-minute cycle. 5 minutes into it, it breaks again. So to me, it's the equivalent of taking a deep breath or going the whole day just panting and shallow breath, which will which after a while we're gonna pass out.
We're gonna pass out. A little extra CO2 never hurt anybody.
That's what's happening to your brain. It's trying to hang out and all of that bing and boop and all of the notifications from here and there, or multitasking and this and that. No, it's so bad for your health.
Right.
Well, but that's the whole thing. I mean, we'll get to that in just a minute or so, but I like the idea of breaking things down into bite-sized pieces. That's the old story about how does an ant eat an elephant, one bite at a time. So that's the same sort of proposition that we've got going on there. So when you're talking about distractions and that sort of thing, Kayvon, so I was going to ask you, what are your favorites? We're not even going to get into the alerts right now because we always have that type of thing. But when we're talking about, I like to call these neuro alarms, only because it's sort of neuroinduction or a suggestion that something's about to happen. My sister does this actually very well. She sets alarms for different times of day to remind her that a particular task needs to be accomplished at this time. And they have different sounds, which is even more interesting. So I'm not talking about the Pomodoro method, which both of you know. Like John, you've used that quite a bit, right? Where you have a task, you start it, and
task timers. And
how long is the task timer generally? You say 45 minutes or 15, or it depends on the task.
It really can vary. So I think it's very difficult for any of us to be super effective for more than 45 minutes at a time without breaks. I think that's kind of your max. And so, I mean, they could be as long as that, or they could be as simple as 10, 15 minutes for small items. Just say, okay, I'm going to take 10 minutes right now, bam, and do this. And as I said to you before, the other thing I like to do is if I really want to know where my time is spent, I use like a software program like Time Doctor to just kind of see where I've spent all my time overall and how I've, utilized it in general.
It's going to show you. You're on Instagram for maybe 5 hours today.
Yeah, your time cube.
Time cube.
It's, I don't know if it's a cube or it's like two pyramids on top of each other. So it has eight surfaces.
Your time pyramid.
Right. So this one is social media marketing. This one is content development. So I put that one up, and the software keeps track of it. And this is my timer. So I have these two, and I just turn them around and that sort of thing. Standard Pomodoro is 25 minutes work time, 5-minute break, and on and on. And what I like what John said. Well, first of all, they have done studies. The maximum amount that we can keep our focus on something is about 53 minutes or so, and the 17-minute break kind of a thing, 51 minutes, 17, which I also discovered by experimenting. I started to increase my focus time to see how far this can get. And when I hit 50 minutes, I couldn't go longer than that. So I looked at my tasks and productivity and what I spend my time on. And I noticed a pattern of my success doing the Pomodoro based on the type of task, as in the tasks that I hated to do, the tasks that I'm okay, I just do them. And the tasks I really enjoy doing, and I get into the zone and all of that. So I use the intermittent Pomodoro method, but I have 3 times. I have 10-minute cycles for the things that I hate, 25-minute cycle for the things that they are okay, and then 50-minute or 45-minute for the ones that I enjoy. And I found that not only makes me more productive, but it also increases my joy of working on something a lot more.
So just out of curiosity, so like what's a task that you find that you can do longer? Just
like presentation creation. Right? Let me show you something. I am working on something right now, and I'm putting my thoughts into this communication made simple format, and this would be the basis of the presentation that I'm going to do. So now taking all of those points and making slides about them, and because I like short slides with 1 or 2 words on them, or 1 small sentence and that sort of thing. So this process of creating that flow of presentation and those things and doing it, that's a task that I really enjoy doing.
I kind of find it too, writing presentations
like this.
Video, those things.
So where does CrossFit fit in there?
Well, CrossFit is the thing that I outsourced, actually.
You outsourced CrossFit?
No, actually, it is the thing, because here's the thing. I need to exercise. I want to exercise. So I can be in charge of it and set a time and think about what I'm going to do today, what movements, how heavy of the weights, or are outsourced. So I outsourced the whole thing to a gym and a coach in the gym called CrossFit. So I know that I'm going to the 5:30 class. All I have to do is show up. What we're going to do with what sort kind of an interval, what programming and all of that, it's all done for me. It's on the whiteboard. I just show up and do it. So that I have outsourced the whole thing to somebody
But
else.
wouldn't outsourcing really result in you hiring somebody to do it for you?
No,
To
well,
show up in a Kayvon suit?
I have hired someone to do the work of thinking for me.
Of thinking. Okay, you
Right.
outsourced your thinking.
Yeah,
Okay.
outsourced my thinking about workout to CrossFit gym, and I show up and I do it. So in that case, I'm an employee.
You're an employee. That's one thing. It's funny you mentioned the time frame too, because think about the therapists. Usually it's the 50-minute hour. They say our time is up now, and they take 10 minutes in between. But also, what's funny is that our 14-year-old has just starting high school tomorrow as a freshman, and they have a new schedule with 90-minute classes. And I looked at that schedule. I was like, 90-minute classes. There's not going to be a whole lot of learning in that format.
No.
So I don't think I could survive a 90. I have trouble with a 60-minute class. I mean, it's kind of crazy.
No, I think they should have done it like a 45-minute, 10-minute break, 45-minute kind of.
I think you're spot on with that. So moving on, let's talk about a little bit about motivation, because we got into that a little bit earlier. I think is John actually Kayvon is a carrot kind of guy because he likes orange. And John is a stick kind of guy because he likes to beat up on the fisher cats who eat chickens.
I used to teach martial arts.
Oh, you did? Ah.
That's why I like the stick.
That's why you stick it to them.
So
most people, it's been shown, tend to be wired to prefer to avoid punishment or avoid pain as opposed to seek some sort of pleasure. And so the real question is, how are you going to set things up for you to overcome inertia, and that you have a reward schedule, or if in the one case maybe it's a punishment schedule for you.
Yes. Okay,
you're a carrot guy.
Yeah, well, depends actually. So we have inertia or procrastination or not being productive as the problem.
Yeah.
But it's not all the same, because for the sake of simplicity, there are three things that we can not do and not finish. One is not starting. Number two, not sticking with it, not continuing. And number three, not finishing. So all of them can suffer from all of this. Now, here's the thing. I know motivation gets me going. No, motivation gets me started. Commitment keeps me going. Right? So at the beginning, I am carrot driven. As I get some momentum, it becomes a stick. It's like this. I want to get something done. Like, for example, I have been working on having 3 hours of deep work every day. So getting it started, it's about motivation. And every day I keep track of it and I cross it. So this is my last 2 months. Now my number one goal is not to break the chain. It's not about doing the work. It's not breaking the chain. So the switch from that motivation of let's work 3 hours of deep work every day to I got to get this date as well, because I don't want to break the chain that I had so far.
So what's the reward or the punishment for breaking the chain?
It's a punishment. It's a stick thing that disappointment, and I
disappointment.
Didn't.
Okay, there you go.
But at the beginning, when the page is empty, it's about motivation. Let's get this started. Let's get this going. So motivation gets me started. Commitment gets me going, and helps me finish it. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So what are your thoughts, John? Because you're a stick guy. I'm calling you a stick guy.
Well, I don't know. To me, I look at it as accountability as a stick, to a certain extent. So I mean, I definitely respond well to being accountable to others, and so I try to always set up that, or I try to set up a time frame. And I agree with Kayvon. It's more like the disappointment of not getting it done on schedule that kind of motivates me to get it finished.
So do either of you give yourself little rewards or something? Like I've heard people
course.
say, at the end of the day, I'm going to get a little candy bar, or I'm
Yeah.
going to get, I'm going to enjoy my favorite Netflix movie, my guilty pleasure.
Or I get a big project done, I'll take a weekend trip someplace in the RV or something like that. Or
As well as those things, I also do little rewards.
Yeah, the small rewards.
Yeah, like I have this singing bowl on my desk. So now I get something done or make a sale or all of that. I just do one of these.
Huh?
So
like ringing the bell.
just exactly that's just ringing the bell. I hope this sound, this note, or things like all of the little celebrations. Things
We
like
have
that.
a winner.
Yes, we have a winner. Or one of my favorites. So hearing that is reprogramming my mind over and over that I get things done.
That was easy.
Yeah, like that. So mini celebrations and big ones.
Yeah, I think that's the rewards. Even the smallest rewards are pretty good. If you have teeny tiny tasks, I say give yourself teeny tiny rewards.
Yep.
Probably the way to go. Oh, wait, squirrel.
Yeah.
Now the question is, how do we avoid distractions? And this is one of the things that I remember from long ago. I think this was James Schramko and more than one person saying that, when you're always running around responding to other people's urgencies, and the fact that he classified your email inbox as other people's urgencies caused me to close my email up and only check it maybe twice a day, sometimes not at all for an entire day. And so I think the alerts that you were talking about earlier, Kayvon, were very important too, because I've turned off most of my alerts on my phone.
I love what you're saying, because you basically what you're doing is the right thing and the only thing that we can do. It's not about willpower.
No.
It's about structure. It's about the environment of productivity.
And it's avoiding the dopamine hit of another alert.
And I think
it's not about getting the notification and ignoring it. It's about not getting the notification in the first place.
At all.
Right. And I think this is also what introduced all of us to the masterworks of Stephen Covey. Right? It's kind of like for our generation, that's where we started to notice the difference between, it's urgent and important. It's somebody else's problem.
Yeah, my Stephen, I mentioned that to you before.
Problem.
Yeah.
I mentioned that to you before, John, with the guy.
I know.
There are only two people who really stopped in front of me and stared me down during the middle of their presentation and talked to me for about a minute and a half. One was Stephen Covey. I was like, in this whole auditorium of probably 600 people, he stands there, he stops and looks straight at me. And the other one was Chris Ducker, the guy who does Upreneur. So they both have the same sort of hairdo that you do, John.
It's not easy to be good looking and bald.
Exactly.
What do they say?
Oh, my eyes.
My eyes. So that's everything from beginning with the end in mind, but avoiding those the so-called urgencies aren't really urgent. I think we suffer as a society and as entrepreneurs from a lot of FOMO. Like we really fear like we're going to miss out on the latest great thing.
Here's another trick. All of these applications or defaults on the phone, the sound that they have picked is something to even make it sound more urgent. It's the big ding or all of, so the few notifications that I choose to keep, I always change the default sound to something as less intrusive or very short. Like there is this one that it sounds like you drop something, it goes just like that. Just
as opposed to something like wah wah wah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Or the what is it? The messenger on iPhone is a big bell. It's bing, and it resonates. I'm like, no. Change all of that to something that's like a drop of water.
One thing that I actually did do is I changed those few things that I have notifications for. There is an email notification in there, which, by the way, tells me that it shows that I really do ignore my email because there's 18,000 emails I haven't looked at. Anyway, but that's the procrastination. But I have them on silent. And the two that I have notifications from, aside from email, are Instagram and Facebook Messenger. But they never make a sound. And that actually helps a lot to have zero sound. So even though you might see the little red dot with the white number in there, nevertheless, not having a sound is somewhat soothing to me. So.
Yeah.
Right. Thankfully, my email doesn't make a sound either, but my messenger does. So when certain people are messengering me continuously, I notice that.
That's what I do.
I'm not naming any names.
Not any names of any sort.
but it's kind of true. It is a thing. Like, it doesn't bother me, but I notice that, like, my wife, for instance, if we're off someplace, she'll be like, "Your phone is like constantly, banging or making noises," and I'm terrible at adjusting those notifications on things because sometimes it's not easy to do.
We'll fix it for you. Don't you worry. Just call our help desk here in Coronado, California.
There you go.
In a certain area of my life, actually, I did the opposite. There was no notification, and I added a notification.
Oh boy!
And because it goes back to the why, right?
Yeah.
For example, I wanted to, have a better control and presence over my money.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I have set up a notification every time I use my credit card. I get a text message.
Not an electric shock.
And advice. If it's in my pocket, I noticed that I just made a purchase. So it could be $1 purchase, $2, $25, whatever. I get a notification. So that is programming me to be to have awareness on my spending.
That's a good idea. Very good idea.
Not a bad idea. So to summarize here, we did talk today about our using your why. There should be a WHY, but I don't know why I have YMCA in my head. Chonking down things to simple tasks. Do your little ant eats elephant maneuver. Mm-hmm. And then we talked about the what I call neuro alarms. Not so much the timers, but just setting things. If you do have your notifications, set them in such a way that they will remind you to do a particular task during a particular time period that you've previously chosen. And then we talked about the motivation of the carrot versus the stick. We have Kayvon the carrot and John the stick, Paduchak. And then we talked about our distractions and the necessity of cutting down or cutting back on the number of notifications that we have, either the visual ones or the sound or both, and then the urgencies, other people's urgencies, never confusing them with what's important. So
yeah,
that was our Covey moment. So let me see, what else do I have here? I think
on the tiny tasks, I wanted to add something.
Yeah.
So we were talking about Pomodoro.
Yeah.
Right. So whether it's 15 minutes or 25 minutes or whatever, that's a good way to pick a task. Like, what is it that I can do in the next 25 minutes? What is it that I can do in the next 15 minutes? And just keep asking that question and making progress one step after another. That's a good way that anybody can do to break a big project into tiny little tasks.
And for those of you who'd like to connect with us, you can reach John at johnpaduchak.com, Dr. K at simplify.zone. You can find me all over social media as at Dr. Vogelmann. So if you've got any questions, we're going to move very shortly into Clubhouse, which we have previously set up. So if you want to have some more interaction on an audio basis, audio only, we'll be able to have just a great conversation, continuing with these suggestions. We've had some really good ones lately. And I think that's it's been quite helpful. Any other final comments here before we disappear?
I just noticed Cassandra's in the house.
Oh, she is. Oh, she
hey, Cassandra.
To show. There you are.
Oh, hello.
You stopped by.
Yes.
She has to have notifications. Okay. How come they're not?
Oh,
she's just saying hello to you. I don't know why. I don't.
Hello, Cassandra.
Hello, Cassandra. Hey, come on over to Clubhouse. By the way, we've put Clubhouse's links down below this video. So the only place is I couldn't fit it into YouTube. I don't know why. Once you go into YouTube Studio, it doesn't let you do that. But underneath this video in the Marketing Happy Hour, in John Paduchak's professional page, John Paduchak, video creator, on Dr. Christopher Vogelmann on Facebook, and in the Marketing Happy Hour itself. I think I already mentioned that. You'll find the link to the Clubhouse down below, and hopefully you can join us. Cassandra, we'll look forward to seeing you there.
Yes.
She says, hi, peeps. I guess we are the peeps.
Yes.
We are the peeps. We are the world. So we're going to head over to Clubhouse shortly. If you have any questions If you have any suggestions for future topics, you can just enter it down below this video, because we do receive notifications from the Book of Faces and from YouTube. I've even received notifications from Periscope on Twitter, and I know some of you are watching there. So be kind, rewind. Anything else, gentlemen, before we go over to Clubhouse?
No, not that I can think of.
Yeah, I think this was a good session.
All right. We're off to the House of Clubs. Look for the link. See you next week. Same bad time.